So this week's Monday's musings was taken from inspiration. Well, that could be the wrong word. Reflections might be better, from the BOC, British Orthodontic Conference. And yeah, I think, yeah, the magic roundabout sums it up really. It's many years since I've been, maybe even 10. So you go there all buzzing, looking for new things, new techniques, new materials, new gizmos. Nah, nothing, nada. So, trying to put together a video on the highlights, sort of between a hard place and a rock. So, this is what I managed to conjure together. Now, in the good old days when we used to do a lot of beg, people would say, oh, you can't do talk on a round wire. Well, you can if you use two wires or you use talking auxiliaries. And here we have it, the Goodman Talking Spring Kit from OrthoCare. For those who don't like bending wire, for those who might not want to hack their bracket positions or prescriptions. So, for example, a palatal lateral, normally we would invert the bracket to give us more buccal root torque. If you'd forgotten to do that at the start, you just bend the wire. Do you want to bend the wire? Well, here's your get out of jail card. Also, I would say pretty good idea for if you get those odd low incisors that have been treated and they've crept out the alveolar housing by other people, and you won't need to tickle that one tooth back, because applying torque in the lower labial segment is difficult. Why? Because your wire is stiffer. So how can, say, a 1925 TMA for the upper be not as stiff as for the lower? It's the same bloody wire, isn't it? Well, come on, you know the answer. Interbracket distance, isn't it? Interbracket distance is less, so the wire's a lot stiffer. So you could just put a talking spring on, simply slide it on, get into the right position, crimp the springy pigtails, Bob's your uncle, job done. Now, speaking of torque, it's ideal to get torque from an early age, early on in treatment. So a 20/20 wire is brilliant because you can get it in early because the 20 in the horizontal allows it, and the 20 in the vertical gets it in. And the GC wires, the bioactive ones, are lovely because they're super silky smooth. So there's very little friction. But also, they're super clever. The anterior has much less force than the premolars, which has much less force than the buccal segment. And the reason for that is obviously the root surface area differs. So pressure equals force over area, and we know how much capillary pressure is, how we can demonstrate it, your 30 millimeters of mercury and compressing your fingernail. So if you want to improve your efficiency, maybe you might want to spend a bit more and get these super sexy wires, put them in, and what do we say? Let them cook. Just let them work. And speaking of GC, they've got a new, I know this is injectable, which is what I use for my attachments because it's like, and bonded retainers because it's super rock hard. It really is hard, much harder than normal flowable. They've got an attachment. So what I tend to do is use Zendura AT, so Zendura attachment, because it's much more, how can I put it, precise or sharp, because we like, well, yeah, the best attachments are rectangular. Let's not mess about here. Sorry, I nearly said a naughty word. They make it more difficult for the patient to wear, but my God, does it make it more precise, as opposed to the amorphous blobs which some of the companies produce. So this attachment doesn't wear, so stays precise for longer. And then perhaps the other highlight was the well, there wasn't gummy bears, there was lots of jelly beans, which were great, but the gum wire. So again, available from OrthoCare. You tried doing this with a steel. So one of the team members in trouble, can't close the lower incisor space. No, I didn't advise them to take that tooth out. So we have to collapse the arch in. And yes, we could use an 016 steel to try and collapse it in, but steel's stiff. And you can't put as big a bend in as you can with this gum wire. I know there's TMA, which I'm trying to think of the graph. Young's modulus, so it's quite more flexible than steel, but gum is even more flexible and formable than TMA. So for detailing, you know, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, the person who sent me this also wants a bit of a rollicking, because the lazy toad didn't take the arch wire out, did they? They scanned with the models and the arch wire in. So it makes my life even more difficult, because I've had to cut some grooves in to guesstimate where the arch wire slot is. So if you are going to send me a scan for some wire bending, please, 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 please remember to take the wire out and any O-rings and modules. Thank you. I know, yeah, there's the Zendura attachment, nice, crisp, defined margins. And I don't like all the hot composite, I like injection molding. So what I do is just put a little tiny hole in and inject the GC. No flash, no cleanup, no mess. Bob's your uncle, job done. And the last highlight would be Mark from ESM with a new scanner called The Shining. That always reminds me of a film. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He always looks really creepy. Jack somebody. Anyway, the name reminds me of him, but the scanner also reminds me of a Medit. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know, I said it. So super quick, super easy, and here he is. So this was just recorded at the show. So he sells the 3-shape and this new shiny one.
That's very impressive, isn't it?
Well, it's average, but what is impressive is for 11k you get the scanner and the laptop. So for all those who say, nah, can't afford it, it's getting more and more affordable. And like I say, if you get stuck, scanners are great, because you can send me scans with brackets on, we can bend the wire, we can say, you know what, let's call it a day, just get some aligners made, finishing aligners. It saves a whole hassle of trying to store study models, blah, 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 blah. It's the way to go. So that's my review of the BOC. Nah, meh. It sums it up. Yeah, so I shall carry on looking for my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and got a couple of ideas up my sleeve, and hopefully you'll hear about them next year. So with that, catch you all next